record on.
All right, let me do it one more time. And so here is distinguished Toastmaster Grace Weltman with her speech, Passion Makes an Impact.
Greetings. It's such a pleasure to have all of you here today. I'm excited about this topic because whenever I hear a speaker, I don't know about you, but when you hear a phenomenal speaker, they usually impact so many people because they're speaking about something they're passionate about. So if I was going to ask each of you to name 3 things in your head, what are you passionate about? Pause for a moment. And I'd like each of you to share one of your 3 with everybody in this space today.
I'm passionate about empowering individuals.
Yvette.
I am passionate about my family and doing as much as I can with them.
Tana.
I am passionate about loving on people.
Loving on people. What about you, Terrence?
I'm passionate about being successful.
There you go. So each of you were able to pick one of your 3. Maybe you had 3, maybe you didn't, but you knew right away what to answer when asked on the spot. So today, as we talk about passion makes an impact, it does, because whenever you are in front of an audience and you're passionate about something, you usually can move them because you're passionate about the topic. Well, what does that mean? You know the feeling, right? You get excited when you talk about it. Your eyes look a certain way. You're animated. You just naturally have verbal gestures. We do have people that are ultra shy about speaking, but by and large, when you ask somebody to speak about something they're passionate about, they will open up and you'll not even understand maybe that person that you first met. And like Steve will say that saying he came up today, I'm going to steal it. You do what? So that's another way that definitely that kind of reaction comes out. So as I talk about passion, we're going to talk about how passion makes an impact. I want to focus in on how you amplify your passion as a speaker. What do we mean by amplifying your passion? As a speaker, one thing that I've learned over the years, what you say and how you say it matters when communicating your passion. So oftentimes, if you hear somebody who talks about public speaking, you'll see curriculum that says, oh, you have to organize your speech and you have to have this, you have to say it within this time, or it has to have this type of content. You have to have a story at the beginning. But we don't really merge the principles of what you say with how you say it. So I'm going to go over these points, and hopefully you'll walk out of this presentation today with some tips or some motivation to really think about what your next speech might be, or if you're about to speak about something to a group, thinking about, especially if it's something about your passion. Now, when it comes to passion, I'm passionate about a lot of things, but me, like Tana and Sonia, merge. I love engaging people and I love loving on people. So I'm at that sweet spot where not only have I engaged people, but I've also shown them love and care. It's very hard to do. And so that is, if you know me as a speaker, and Sonia and Steve and Yvette have gotten to know me, I tend to be more relatable in my speeches because that's just where my sweet spot is. So again, what you say and how you say it matters when communicating your passion. So think about that as we go through what I'm going to cover. So building your speeches around your passion. So this is where we struggle sometimes with topics, right? I've struggled with this. I remember years ago, Sonia's read my bio. I've been in a lot of spaces, particularly on the policy world. Oftentimes, if I speak, I may know a lot about a topic, and I might speak too much of it, because sometimes when you know too much of a topic, you become like the spokesperson for that topic, but you're getting really technical. But I've reflected back on those presentations and I thought, was I really passionate about the topic I was speaking about? Maybe not. So I thought about these things as we think about topics. So identify up to 3 things or issues you are most passionate about. So I had you think at the beginning, what are you passionate about? And that can often change. I know during the pandemic, I became passionate about things that I wasn't necessarily passionate about before, but it ignited something in me. So again, for this, it could be 3 things that you're passionate about all throughout your life, but sometimes in the moment, you're going to get caught up in something or an issue that you want to speak about. Identify that. Bring a notebook with you or use your iPhone to write notes, not while you're driving. And I've done that. Don't do that at a stoplight. Okay. But don't do that. Just take notes and jot that down because you never know. Like today, for example, I got excited. I spend a lot of time with Steve and I know a lot about cybersecurity. So Twitter fired their cybersecurity person. And now he's suing them and he's considered a whistleblower. And I was hearing his story. I'm like, wow, this is what Steve goes through at work. This is what he does. Wow. Okay. So I got passionate about that for a short moment, but because of that passion, I had developed some knowledge about something I didn't know before. So think about your passion and when those things come up that interest you. Number 2, write why you are passionate about the things or issues you've identified. I meant to say you've identified. So Sonia, when you identified your passion, do you think about why you're passionate about it, or you just know you're passionate about it? Have you gone through the level of, oh, let me think about why I'm passionate about it?
Yeah. Yeah. It's taken me a minute to figure out like that's part of my purpose, but yeah. And the things I do relate to that passion.
So really think about that because that's important. Your why is so important because people, not only for your audience, but your why will drive your content and really embellish and amplify, not embellish, but amplify your passion even more because your why is what drives you, right? So when that why comes out, people will know it in your content and it'll show up in the delivery. Number 3, build topics around what you identified. So if you're passionate about something, now I know Steve gave me a hard time about this, but if you remember the story about Forrest Gump, anybody saw the movie Forrest Gump? Remember Bubba Gump? I loved his character, right? Because he was passionate about shrimp. So he went through the whole movie talking about different types of shrimp. I don't know, Forrest, but he talked about different types of shrimp and he had a story or he had an explanation for every type of shrimp. Now that was a little bit overboard, but if you think about that movie, he built topics around his passion, what he identified. And then he got into boating and all these sorts of things. And then as a result of that, there was a shrimp company named after him. I know this is fictitious, but I love the story. And then everybody around Bubba Gump supported him and built his legacy off of his shrimp passion. So that's an example of building topics around what you identified. So as Steve, for instance, talked about playing the bass guitar, that's something that he can build around. Or Terrence, you being successful and what that passion for you is, you can build topics around that. What does it mean to be successful? What am I doing to reach my success? What am I learning from other leaders who are successful? You can really build those topics and strengthen that. So again, build your speeches around your passion. And this is honing in on this will help you with your content development. It'll help you with what you're saying. And from there, everything flows. The next segment is your elements of delivery. I'm not going to get into the 10 or 12 areas of Toastmasters. If you go through the Toastmasters program, you'll learn all the skills that you need to with your delivery. And this is how you're delivering your message. So voice and vocal variety are key. Oftentimes you hear a speaker, and I hear this more in a technical situation or in a work situation where someone may not be comfortable with the topic, but they have to do it for work. And you've seen those, right? Some of those speeches may be a little dry, right? They give a presentation, they know their stuff, but they're not necessarily passionate about it. So how do you show passion? Voice and vocal variety. This is why very trained and practiced speakers practice all the time. They practice their voice, they make sure they have inflection. The vocal variety is key to keep your audience engaged. So think about that, and that's where your rehearsal comes into play. Now, not all of us are like the Steve who he can speak off the cuff. I don't do that as well, but I noticed that when he speaks, he does that. Sonia, when you tell a story, it's amazing. You have all the elements of voice and vocal variety. Number 2, audience connection and engagement. How are you engaging the audience? Now, people will say in Toastmasters, you should start with the story. However you want to start. I like to involve people. You notice at the beginning, I asked everybody a question. And the reason why, for me, I do that is because I want to hear from you and I draw energy from my audience. So when I hear you talk and answer, I get motivated to speak even more. So that might be my technique. Some people may want to tell a story and really engage, and make sure that whatever you use, it's something your audience can connect with. And don't underestimate the power of your story, because whatever you say in a story, someone will relate to an element of it or all of it or some of it, or maybe motivated because of what you said in that story. But that is very important with your audience connection and engagement. Do that at the beginning. That's what you want to do. Gestures and eye contact. Sonia, you did a great job of giving Steve advice. As if if he was presenting this on stage, he would be able to use his gestures. Gestures are really key. Some of us use too many of them. Some of us don't use enough of it. I know that I have to practice more of my gestures because sometimes I don't do the transitions well. Eye contact. It's so much harder on Zoom. That has been my biggest challenge because I'm staring into a camera that's not on the screen, it's above the screen. So we've had to learn how to practice speaking into this camera, but in person, make sure you make eye contact, you gaze at a person, maybe for a few seconds, don't just scan the room, hone in on certain people in the room. For those of you that are shy, some of you may want to focus on people you know. I'm the opposite. If I look at someone I know too well, for some reason, I'll fumble. I'm one of these speakers that do much better if the crowd is larger. If it's a smaller crowd, I struggle. So honing in and practicing on a few people or a part of the room, but make sure you're making that personal connection. And so this is just some of the ways in which you can improve the how you deliver your speech. But overall, what's going to drive it is knowing what you're passionate about, writing what you're passionate about, and practicing how you're going to deliver it. Madam Toastmaster.
I
Oh.
think you have time for some questions, right? 5 minutes for, does anybody have any questions for Grace?
You don't have to have questions.
I'll ask a quick question.
Sure.
Grace, how did you decide did you tell us what you're passionate about?
I did a little bit, yes.
Can you talk a little bit more about that and tell us how you determined your passion?
So in my last slide, I had something that talked about this. I learned my passion based on my experiences in life. So one thing that I've learned is when people hear me speak about things I'm passionate about, they tend to feed off my energy. So whatever energy I've given off, if I'm passionate about it, other people get excited.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm very passionate about the work that I do for vulnerable children through my church. So when I present to our congregation about what we're doing with vulnerable children, people get excited. And that's when I knew, oh, this is definitely my passion. Am I inspiring others to follow what they want to do in life. Not necessarily follow what I do, but have I shown so much passion that they now are like, well, I want to have a passion. I want to be passionate about something else. The third thing is confidence makes a difference.
Mhm.
I know I'm passionate about something when I'm confident about what I'm doing. I get very confident even about policy work, homelessness, things that I do in the public world. So the confidence actually inspires people as well, but that confidence is really key, and it only comes out in areas where I'm passionate about something.
Wonderful. Anyone else have a question for Grace? All right.
I don't have a question, but Grace, if possible, I'd like to get a copy of your PowerPoint.
Yes, I will make one correction and send that over to everybody.
Okay, well, let's move into, no other questions? Then we'll move into